Israel Updates with Gadi Taub and Mike Duran. Hello and welcome to Tablet's Israel Update. It is the 21st of November and I'm Gadi Taub in Tel Aviv, and with me in Washington, D.C., Mike, I have a whole list of titles and I'm not going to read them because I ran out of titles for you. So you're Dr. Mike Duran for now. Could you do that? Are you comfortable with that title?
I'm comfortable. You can call me Your Excellency.
Less. That's a literal translation. בעברית, it's very nice to say, פחות, נכון? It's cool. Less. Less so. But what I did is I asked ChatGPT, I ran out of titles, so funny ones. I asked ChatGPT, and it caught the fact that I was looking for something funny, but it didn't realize that they're all real titles. So it came up with things like the Venerable Abbot of Perpetual Confusion. How's that? How is that? And the Dean of Faculty of Dubious Theology. There are many, many titles, Mike, out there waiting for you. And I just read you some of the religious one. It has a whole.
I like those.
We'll do a few each time. So
I want to be the professor of ontological doubt.
Oh, that you already are, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, thank you.
This is going to be your show today. I'm going to listen because we had the UN Security Council resolution, the one that we were so afraid of, and now people are turning off the alarms, and we want to hear why. We also had MBS visit the White House. That's also
You're taking all the news. You're taking all the news away from me.
I'm just saying what the items are. That's not taking the news. You need to say some substance in your news items, okay. And this is all in your turf, almost like Azerbaijan or even Turkey. So please, Mike, why don't we start with the news bulletin?
Okay, but before we do, I just want to comment. I really like your I really like your jacket. I approve of your sartorial upgrade. I have an upgrade here too. I have a.
Did we tell the story of why you didn't want to talk to me because I had an earring?
Yeah, I think we did. There we go. I can't put it on. I got an earring. I'm gonna upgrade to an earring because
but
people
remember,
like you better.
But remember, this is YouTube, and anything that can be caught in I'm talking pre-AI mentality. Anything that can be caught in a frame will stay forever. So be careful. Don't put out anything that you're likely to regret.
I'll be careful about that then.
Okay.
On to the news.
Yeah, please.
Okay. As you mentioned, President Donald Trump welcomed Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman to the White House. Pardon me, and confirmed the sale of F-35 stealth fighters and 300 tanks to Saudi Arabia. The Crown Prince told reporters in English, "We want to be part of the Abraham Accords, but we want also to be sure that we will secure a path to a two-state solution." Israeli analysts described the visit as a setback for immediate normalization. On Tuesday, also, as you mentioned, Gadi, the UN Security Council unanimously adopted a binding resolution on Gaza that authorizes an armed international stabilization force, the ISF, to deploy in territory occupied by Israel. It creates a temporary sovereign authority independent of both Israel and the Palestinian Authority, and explicitly mandates a clear pathway toward a viable Palestinian state. On Wednesday, opposition parties demanded an emergency Knesset session after the Trump administration refused to link the Saudi F-35 sale to progress on Israeli-Palestinian peace. One accuser of the prime minister declared Netanyahu has no bargaining power with Trump, and Israel is no longer in the control of its security and national interests. Israel is not in control of its own security and national interests.
Why don't you mention who this was that said this?
This was Efrat Reitan.
Reiten.
Reitan.
Yeah.
Reitan.
Labor. Yeah.
Labor. I didn't actually recognize.
Labor merits, labor merits.
I didn't recognize, so I decided not to mention. Wednesday, November 20th, Prime Minister Netanyahu visited Israeli positions in the Syrian buffer zone on the Golan Heights, vowing no withdrawal without ironclad guarantees. Syrian President Ahmed Ashara responded that demilitarizing southern Syria is unacceptable, and he warned that continued Israeli presence risks, quote, reaching Munich, unquote, through endless expansion. On Thursday, President Trump hosted 26 freed Israeli hostages, very dramatic meeting, calling them heroes and awarding each a presidential coin, while the former captives urged focus on recovering the bodies of the three deceased hostages still held in Gaza. Also on Thursday, IDF reservists and their families expressed fury at the emerging Haredi draft bill, saying it formalizes mass exemptions. But just to remind everyone, Gadi, I'm reading what the mainstream Israeli press is saying. You're not necessarily going to agree with all of it, and that's the point. And that's it. Over to you, Gadi.
Okay, so we had the real big drama with the Advocate General, as they call her, Major General Yifat Tomer Yerushalmi, and the whole drama that we recounted in two large segments in two of our last shows is not advancing very far. There are rifts inside Israel, what the right calls the deep state here, because the court has ruled that Gali Barav Miara, your friend with a beautiful name, Mike, who is the Attorney General and the counsel to the cabinet, will not be overseeing the investigation in which she is at least a witness, if not a defendant. And I don't think we should belabor this now, because it's still, we don't know who will oversee the investigation, and Minister of Justice Yariv Levin put on a second name, and now the Supreme Court is again moving to at least suspend the decision until further notice. And this is all very strange, but the thing is, you know, the can of worms has been opened, or the toothpaste is out of the tube. They will not be able to put it back. The more they try, the more ridiculous it is going to seem, and the more transparent it is going to seem. So I foresee that in future weeks, we will see this pettering out, but simmering under the surface. And as I think I said here, the press and the progressive elites are more or less defending the Advocate General, who threw the Force 100 soldiers under the bus, or to the international wolves of international law, and that does not sit well with the Israeli stomach. So we will have more to say about it when there are more developments, and I think we will be discussing the cultural elements of that, but I don't think we need to say any more in the moment.
Let me just question you on a couple of things. When you say you think it's, what exactly do you mean when you say it's going to peter out but continue to simmer?
Do you say Peter and not Peter?
Yeah, you say Peter.
Like it's like the name?
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you constructed this question in order to correct me clandestinely?
No, I didn't. I did not. And then I also realized the minute you ask, why does it peter out? What is it? Where does that word come from? I have no idea. People helped us out last time on conundrum and in the readers' comments on dilemma versus conundrum. We can also look up Peter. You only use it. It's a word. You don't use it anywhere else except peter out. It's a saying, and I don't have no idea where it comes from.
Yeah. And so I think since what happened here, if I can give you a metaphor, is that happened to me when I visited a U.S. Aircraft carrier. There was an emergency siren. We went down to the big hangar that's under the main deck, and it's huge. And people and the Marines were playing football there, because they had enough room for a field there between the, where they keep the airplanes when they're under the deck. And then there was an alarm, and everybody ran to see it was a fire alarm. And you know what was burning? The fire truck. So this is what we're up against. these are the investigating authorities. They are on fire. Someone within this fire truck set this fire, and now they're trying to prevent it from burning the whole truck. So this is
Uh,
what we're seeing, and we don't know how deep the involvement is. As you know, my interpretation, I think it's waist deep. I think it goes all the way down, and what they're trying to do is limited. So one of the most handy tools of bureaucrats to handle uncomfortable things is to just stretch them and block them and postpone them.
oh,
And
so you think that they'll slow roll it,
yeah,
so
yeah,
it'll go.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's what you're saying. So it's going to be slow rolled, and
With hopefully for them until the personnel completely changes and the institutions would therefore not be harmed. That's going to be the tactic.
okay, all right, I got it. Okay, so on to the Security Council resolution. Should we do that?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You were
So
very worried, Mike, when we spoke about it for the first time here, saying this is an internationalization of the conflict. This is what Israel has been trying to prevent for many years, and now it has just passed through the Security Council. We must say it's a sort of Security Council resolution that's not under Article 7, so it's not immediately binding as international law. But I doubt that this will matter very much.
I no, I didn't. I can't remember if I was alarmed or not alarmed. I mean, I historically Israel has not wanted to internationalize the conflict, internationalize the Gaza Strip, and that is the mere fact of internationalization is a kind of a gift to Hamas and the Palestinian Authority on a certain level, because they've taken it away from Israel. They've gotten forces on their side, or not necessarily on their side, but forces working that in a direction that can benefit Hamas and keep it alive, potentially. And you always have to say, well, I mean, the Netanyahu government's argument is we're doing this with Donald Trump, and we trust Trump, and Trump wants to defeat Hamas just like we do, and so we're not worried. But you have to worry that once one of these authorities is created, they never go away. We'll have an international force there forever. And I mean, this is the fear. The nightmare scenario is international force there forever. Hamas will be able to hide behind it. It won't actually defang or disarm Hamas. And if the Democrats win, if we have another Obama administration or a Kamala Harris administration in 3 years' time, 4 years' time, then this could become Kamala Harris's international force, which will be used against Israel. But the chance of that, I think, is not great, because number one, there's a time limit on this. Now, it can always be extended, but there's a time limit. They made sure to limit it before Trump leaves office, and also the nod to the Palestinian Authority is conditioned. So there is a nod in the direction of the Palestinian Authority, but the Palestinian Authority will not become involved until after it completes its reform process. We all know it's not going to reform, so it's this is they threw a bone. This is Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff, Donald Trump. They threw a bone to the Saudis, who are demanding an irreversible pathway to a two-state solution. They threw a bone to them, but they didn't make the whole process dependent on the Palestinian Authority. So they gave a little something to everybody, but they basically kept control for the Trump administration and for the Israelis in cooperation with the Trump administration.
Our friend and acquaintance, Professor Avi Bareli, whom you know is one of the smartest commentators around, wrote a piece. It's still in draft form. It's going to be published on Monday, which which says this is an extension of the Bar Ilan speech that Netanyahu gave when he came back to power, when Oslo was already a fact. And this is the first time he said he would acknowledge a Palestinian state. But what he did, the move was to make it conditional on something that he knew would never materialize. So he comes into government, and the government before him signed an international treaty that completely changed the direction of the ship of state. And what he did, and it's amazing because the left applauded him, and the right was very critical of him, and they both misunderstood what he was doing. This was the beginning of one of Netanyahu's greatest achievements, which is neutralizing the danger of the two-state solution. And he did it by adopting it. So what Avi Bareli is saying in his forthcoming article is that Netanyahu has convinced Trump in that tactic. And we saw it first in the deal of the century, in Trump's first term. And now we're seeing it again. We're seeing they're hugging the idea of a Palestinian state. First of all, they say that it doesn't exist. We'll have to comment on that in a minute, because it has to do a lot with what's going on at The Hague, and has other repercussions. But what they did here, according to Bareli, is that they made the future Palestinian state conditioned on things that will not happen, and that would enable Israel to intervene in different ways and gain what it can from the lack of a Palestinian state. Is that a convincing interpretation, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's perfect. That's exactly what's going on. And I think it's why the Netanyahu government is so comfortable with this, even though it represents, if you present it in the way I did, sort of the worst case scenario where you say, this is internationalization. Israel's always been against internationalization, and this is a great concession in that regard. If you put it in that way, you see one picture. But when you put it in this frame of the Bar Ilan speech, I think you see quite a different one. And you understand that the Netanyahu government is so comfortable because it's working very closely with the Trump administration on every aspect of this. I think there are two areas, though, where I wonder how well they're working together. And this is from things that I'm hearing. One is the Turks. The Turks. There's lots of reports in the Turkish media that Turkey is preparing troops, training troops ready to go in, and they are presenting Turkish influence not as helping Israel to disarm Hamas, but as to prevent Israel from dominating Gaza, pushing Israel back. And of course, Prime Minister Netanyahu has said there will be no Turkish presence in Gaza. We don't accept it. By the way, Caroline Glick, our friend, was here at Hudson with me yesterday. We did a public event. We'll put the link to
link,
this
you
public
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There many of our viewers are, as we know, are very, very they're still missing. They feel bereft. We don't fill the void left by Caroline's departure into the Prime Minister's office. So to try to throw them a bone, I had a public event with Caroline here at Hudson, and we'll put it.
I actually envy you. I haven't seen Caroline in a bit, and
She-
a lot of her viewers don't know what a fun person she is in person.
Yes, Caroline's got a
She's
wonderful sense of
funny and
humor.
she's fun.
Yeah, she's always she's a hard liner, so you often don't see the sense of humor. But she's
Yeah.
very
One of
warm
my
person.
greatest achievements on my Hebrew speaking podcast is that I teased out Caroline's sense of humor, and we had a great laugh somewhere in the dark days of the war, which was a breath of fresh air. Yeah.
You know, she has a satirical, or had at one point, a satirical website.
Yeah. People don't know that. English speakers don't know that side of her. Was she like that in the conversation, like at Hudson? Was she?
No.
No?
It was
official.
No, it was amusing to see because if there's one thing that Caroline Glick was not, God didn't put her on this earth to
be a
hold
PR
back her
person.
opinion. just to hold back her opinions, and she had to. I could see every time I asked her a question, I could see the wheels turning. That's what she wanted to say, and then she was asking
Yeah.
herself, "Can I say that? Can I not say that?" Uh, anyway, I interviewed her, and she was very adamant about no Turkish presence as well. Chided me on my unacceptable attitudes toward the Turks. However, having said that, I heard from a very, 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 very reliable source that
On the third very, it becomes Trump. You be careful.
this is so close to Trump that it's very close.
Mm.
Uh, but I won't say any more. The anyway the that Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner are pushing hard to get some kind of Turkish liaison office in Gaza. So no troops. Okay, cutting it down the middle. Now, why does Donald Trump want to? Why is he interested, or his envoys? You never know if Trump is telling Witkoff and Kushner that they should do this, or if Witkoff and Kushner are telling Trump, but Trump is on board. Why? Because President Erdogan is held or given credit in the White House, and I'm sure correctly, for convincing Hamas to give up the hostages. So the way the president sees it, he thinks that the Turks are stabilizing force, and he wants to create the system, the international system that will allow the United States to do less and regional powers to do more. So he's interested in getting the Turks a role of some sort in there. He's seen how helpful they were in getting the deal. So we need to watch that closely. The other thing that Carolyn revealed, which I happen to know also from this very, very, very reliable source I have, that the Azerbaijanis, Gadi, have volunteered to put troops in Gaza.
That must
Oh,
have delighted you to no end.
it did. I kept making Carolyn talk about it.
I had, it's the first time that I had heard someone almost as enthusiastic about the Azerbaijanis as you are. I had a meeting with some rabbis who went on a delegation to Azerbaijan and came back elated, saying these people are our real friends. And they also were careful not to say Nagorno Karabakh.
You shouldn't. It's Karabakh, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's like it's like on the right. If on the Israeli right you say the West Bank, people frown on you.
Well, it'd be like saying
It's
occupied
not the West
territories.
Bank, and we are not in Jordan.
Occupied territories,
Occupied
But
territories.
but it's even stronger than that, actually, because the status of uh, the status of the status of the territories it's objectively up in the air. I mean, it's not clear what the status is,
That's
how
true.
it will. But from an Azerbaijani point of view and from the international legal point of view, Karabakh is now it totally is
Azerbaijani.
Azerbaijani sovereign territory, right?
Yeah, and
And
calling
so
it by an Armenian name is a cardinal
it's a
sin,
Russian name. Nagorno Karabakh is a Russian term because the
which the
Russians
Armenians use.
which the Russians carved out. They carved out Nagorno Karabakh from Karabakh in order to say there's this place with this special status which justifies continued Russian presence there to protect the Armenians and so on and so forth. Anyway, we don't need to go into all that, but yes, Karabakh, it makes a difference. No Azerbaijani calls it Nagorno Karabakh. But it's not. But I have been predicting that the Azerbaijan. I've been calling them a rising power for years now, for 5 years, and predicting that we're going to see more and more of them. And here they are, and they want to play a mediating role between the Turks and the Israelis. Because the Azerbaijanis regard Turks as their big brother, and Israel as their best friend. they want their big brother. They don't want their big brother and their best friend to get in a fight. They
Yeah,
can't.
Mike. Yeah. So,
That's
so on a personal level, for me, you are Azerbaijan.
meaning.
You are
I
Azerbaijan.
regard you as my big brother. Is that what you're saying?
No, you regard Erdogan as your big brother, and I'm your best friend. So
Erdogan is
it's the
Erdogan
exact
is not
same
my
thing.
big brother. Erdogan is my sultan. Okay, let's just.
Yeah, you're like the anti-Bibi crowd. They say that the right thinks of Bibi as the Caesar, Caesar. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you want to be really derogatory, it's the purple-haired Caesar. Yeah, but we're off field. So
Yeah.
there's going to be an international field, an international force there. Azerbaijanis are maneuvering to
Well,
take part in it.
well, here's the next thing, though, Gadi, where is that we now have this UN resolution. Remember, I said to you that if you're looking at this from an Arab point of view, there are two problems. I mean, there are many problems, but there's two sort of issues from the point of view of legitimacy, political legitimacy. There's an uncertain legal status under which you would be sending forces to Gaza. But
Mhm.
there's also and that's been solved to a certain extent by this UN mandate, which has created the ISF. But there's also the uncertain political framework in which you're operating, and this is why the Saudis are insisting on an irreversible pathway to a two-state solution. Is that any Arab state? It's among other reasons why they want it. Any Arab state wants to be able to say to its own public and to the larger Arab and Islamic world that they are sending forces in order to build a Palestinian future rather than to help the Israelis control Gaza. So this political problem hasn't been solved, and there's no. I was talking to people in the American military, and they're telling me that none of the which makes perfect sense to me. This is my assumption before I learned it firsthand. No regional state wants to send forces that are actually going to point a gun at Hamas and force them to disarm. There's no idea. There's no credible idea about how to actually at this point disarm Hamas. So it's a
Yes,
very
there is.
yeah.
Israeli military action. Everybody knows that. The
No,
only way to
but the
disarm
Israelis don't
Hamas.
want to do it. The Israelis don't
No,
want
but
to
I'm
do it.
saying that everybody knows that this is the only reliable
This
option,
is the only
the only
way. No,
viable. Yeah.
it's the only way, but the Israelis don't want to do it, and because for the Israelis to do it means leveling all of Gaza. That's what it means.
Yeah. But
Because
however, there is. Yeah, I don't know if you saw the
just
news this
can I finish
evening.
just so I'm not misunderstood
Yeah,
on that?
sure. Please do. Please do. Sorry.
It means leveling all of Gaza because of the tunnels. You can't. Hamas will hide in the tunnels, come out, pop out, shoot at Israelis, and kill them. So the only way you can see wherever Israel has really taken over an area, they have had to destroy the tunnels, and they've had to destroy the buildings on top of the tunnels from which the Hamas snipers have shot. So it really
Mhm.
means systematically taking the and dismantling Hamas means effectively leveling Gaza. Not because Israel is going to go in and the reason I'm belaboring it is I don't want people to think I'm saying that Israel is just going to go in and carpet bomb. That's not it. But if they go block by block, street by street, methodically, ultimately what it means is leveling the
Yeah.
whole place.
But what Israelis are saying now, and we hear this from the security establishment, the IDF, and others, is that time is on our side because Hamas cannot hide forever in tunnels. So they're going to have to come out because the tunnels are absolutely reliant on a ventilation system, for one thing, which is totally dependent on oil in order to operate its generators and produce the electricity needed to create the ventilation. And also, they need food, they need supplies of other kinds. So if a siege is effectively applied, even if the pressure is slow, they will have to come out. Is that a convincing argument?
Well, I mean, how long are we into this war already?
Yeah, but now it's what's behind the argument I just mentioned is that people here say we've now turned the sand clock. Now time is on our side, not on Hamas side, and we can just sit it out on the yellow line, and not let anything move towards rebuilding of Gaza until Hamas is disarmed, which is contained in the agreements, in the declaration, now in the U.S. The United Nations Security Council resolution.
So by that, I suspect if that's thinking that 2 years from now we'll be pretty much in the same position we're in right now, right?
If it doesn't work.
Oh, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. There's this idea. Okay. There's this idea which we heard. I have to see how it's implemented. I still don't completely understand it. I mean, I talked about it on here. I first heard it a couple months ago, and I think this is where they're going to have a green zone and a red zone, and the green zone is going to be the non-Hamas zone, and the red zone is going to be the Hamas-dominated zone, and their reconstruction and a normal life is going to develop in the green zone, and as that develops, it's going to become attractive as a magnet for non-Hamas Gazans to migrate from the red zone to the green zone. And if they establish that, then I think that will put pressure on Hamas. But Hamas is, of course, going to try to stop the migration, and it's going to try to stop the creation of a stabilization force that can actually create the green zone. But we have to see. I mean, as a conceptual idea, that sounds pretty sound to me. But I want to see it implemented. And right now, the big problem with implementation is that nobody wants to be the force on the ground, except the Azerbaijanis, apparently.
But the Azerbaijanis are not going to disarm Hamas forcefully in any scenario that I foresee.
I would also be somewhat skeptical about that, but it's interesting that I heard, by the way, I didn't just hear this I heard this from others. I think I told you that, did I? That I heard it from a very, very, very reliable source.
Yeah, three variants, I remember.
That the Azerbaijanis had volunteered. So I got that from Caroline and from an American source. And it's interesting that they have stepped up and said, we'll do it. Because as far as I know, that's the only absolute 100% sure, 100% certain volunteer that has stepped up. So, I mean, they must be ready for some unpleasant duties.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to imagine what that would look like at home for the Azerbaijanis. Yeah.
I will tell you something about Azerbaijanis. There's two things that I believe about them. One is that you mentioned that they're good friends. Once they decide they're their friend, you can bank on that.
That's lovely.
It's the part of the world that they live in, and probably their culture as well. I see I have a lot of glare. I'm going to put my thing down here. 1 second.
Yeah.
Is that better? Yeah, sorry about that. It's partly their culture, but it's partly where they live. I mean, they are the only country in the world that borders both Russia and Iran. And, there are very few countries that border Iran that have not been destabilized by it. So this is a very, very, very tough geography. It's tougher than Israel's geography. And you have to, when you've got powerful, unpredictable to the north and batshit crazy to the south, you have to really choose your words very carefully, and you got to make sure that you don't commit to anything that you can't stand by, and that you don't send out false signals in different directions. So
give us an
idea. If they tell you they're with you, they're with you. If they don't tell you they're with you, they're not with you.
I'm totally ignorant about that. Can you inform us, Mike, of the relative military strength of this rather small state?
Well, they are a rising power. they in 1993 they were on their faces in the mud. They came out of the Soviet Union without a strong sense of national identity. And they were immediately attacked by the Armenians, who Armenia prepared for the post-Soviet order better than the Azerbaijanis did, and the Armenians marched in and grabbed 20% of Azerbaijan, including Karabakh, and surrounding territories. 800,000 Azerbaijanis were displaced, ethnically cleansed by the Armenians when they did this. The Armenians murdered, raped, and pillaged, and destroyed everything in those areas. And this all happened under Klieg lights. This is not a tendentious interpretation that I'm making. This is absolutely 100% verifiable history. So they were in a horribly weakened position. And then in 1994, I believe it was, Haidar Aliyev, then the head of the leader of Azerbaijan, former KGB officer, senior KGB officer, Haidar Aliyev, brilliant guy. He signed something called the contract of the century. That's what they call it, where he cut the deal for the Baku Tbilisi Ceyhan pipeline. This is the oil pipeline that brings oil to Israel. Ceyhan is a Turkish port on the Mediterranean. Tbilisi, of course, is in Georgia. So a pipeline across Georgia down to the Mediterranean. He signed this deal with a consortium of Western oil companies. With the lead element is British Petroleum, but he also cut in the Russians. He gave the Russians a stake in this venture. So they're very, very adept at paying the northern neighbor the respect that it deserves, and then, but at the same time that it demands. Yeah. At the same time that they cut this deal and cut the Russians in to a certain extent on the deal, they pushed back against all of the efforts to bring Azerbaijan into the new Russian orbit, whether through the collective security organization or the different economic initiatives of Moscow. So they developed their military independently of Moscow, is the point, which was it was a very delicate dance. They would go a little bit toward Moscow and then pull back a little bit and pull back, but they maintained their autonomy, and they developed relationships simultaneously with the Turks and the Israelis. And they developed the Azerbaijani military to at a NATO trained at a NATO level by the Turks and by the and with the help of the Israelis. This was very clever the way they did it, because you see the Georgians made a mistake, because the Georgians rushed toward the EU and toward the West, and they engendering or provoking a Russian counter move, and then Putin basically invaded Georgia in 2008, and the Azerbaijanis managed to prevent the Russians from carrying out these kinds of reprisals against them, while nonetheless developing its military completely independently of the Russian. It's the only.
And how big is it, Mike? The military.
Good question. I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Just in comparison to, say,
well, it's a country of 10.
Iran.
It's a country of 10 million people. Comparing it with Iran is is difficult because Iran's military is very odd. They don't really their regular military, the Artesh, is very weak. It's the IRGC that is the serious power, and the IRGC, as we know, uses these disruptive military capabilities to project its force.
Yeah.
But the Azerbaijani special forces are absolutely top notch. They performed remarkably well in the 2020 Second Karabakh War. They took Shusha, which is the Jerusalem of the conflict between the Armenians and the Azerbaijanis. Very dramatic operation where they scaled a cliff and surprised came in the rear of the Armenians, doing something that nobody expected they could do, surprising the Armenians and the Russians. I was in Baku at the time, and Vladimir Putin, once the Azerbaijanis surprised the Armenians in this way, and then went to go take Khan Kendi, what the Armenians call Stepanakert. That's the capital of what the Armenians call Artsakh and the Russians call Nagorno-Karabakh.
I guess that explains the contribution to the Gaza International Force.
That what?
Just to get an idea of their army. Yeah, I was.
It's a serious, very serious army, very serious army. So anyway, what are you telling me that I went on? I'm very interested.
How did you pick that up? How did you pick that up, Mike? No, it was really interesting. I just felt too far afield. But the most dramatic moment I wanted to tell you, because when they surprised the Armenians, Vladimir Putin, through the Armenians, shot ballistic missiles at Baku. At least one, I think, but I think it was two. And I was in Baku at the time, so Putin sent ballistic missiles at me. He tried to kill me. But those missiles were shot down by Erdogan.
No,
I'm asking who's protecting you, Mike? Your big brother.
The Israelis. It was an Israeli missile. It was an Israeli missile defense system, a joint Israeli.
That the Azerbaijanis have, yeah.
Yeah, which shot down.
Was it the David Sling? Was it the Iron Dome? The Arrow?
I think it was the Barak 8, if I'm not mistaken. But
wow. I get a lot of details.
I get these things wrong sometimes. So it's a Barak 8.
So might it be? Do you think that a solution no one thought about was that there would be an Azerbaijani force pointing their guns at Hamas and disarming them? Is that an actual possibility, or is that a threat?
We have to wait and see what the terms of engagement are. Look, if I'd have told you a year ago that this is gonna, when the dust settles in Gaza, we're gonna have Azerbaijani forces there, would you have believed me? So look, we got to wait and see what happens. But by the way, did you notice that the Iranians grabbed a vessel in the Strait of Hormuz last week?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, at the end of the week, yeah, they did, and it was a vessel. I forget, like Liberian flag, but which doesn't tell you anything. It was a vessel that was hauling Azerbaijani cargo. So it was a poke at the Azerbaijanis by the Iranians, and this was on the eve of the UN Security Council resolution. So I read that as Iran saying to the Azerbaijanis, "Oy vavoylecha," in Gaza.
Yeah, we noticed your move. So shall we go to MBS at the White House?
Yeah, sure. So that's it's fascinating. A rehabilitation of complete rehabilitation from an American point of view of MBS, who was vilified by Biden when he came in
for the Khashoggi affair.
Yes,
the whole established media in America bought into that lie that this is the human rights issue of the region, is the alleged murder of a Saudi journalist in Turkey, in the Saudi embassy.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, it wasn't an alleged murder. He was murdered, and
well, I didn't mean I didn't mean that he was not murdered. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I would say alleged journalist, but anyway, we don't need to go into him. But anyway, we all know
Yeah.
by the way, he's the only person in the world who ever offered me a bribe. For another,
Khashoggi?
yeah. For another time, for another time. Yeah.
Wow.
And
I'm putting an asterisk here because that's a story I want to hear. Okay.
it's a
But
good one.
we're not focused. So
I mean, it's
MBS is in
amusing.
the White House. What does this mean?
Well, complete change in the U.S. Saudi relationship. Of course, the change was happening under Biden as well. Biden came into office and vilified MBS, ostensibly because of Khashoggi, but actually because of MBS's policy toward Iran. Among other things, and it was a way of disciplining him for not getting on board on the accommodation of Iran by the Obama and Biden administration.
So hold on for 1 minute because I want to show you. I'm not going to surprise you with this, I guess. But what does it look like from an Israeli point of view? Because we all remember that the Biden administration was trying to force Netanyahu's hand into agreeing about a path to a Palestinian state by dangling Saudi normalization in front of his eyes. And Mike, I cannot count the times that you mocked the idea that there was anything behind that plan. Because, as you were saying now, Biden's whole policy was oriented towards realignment with Iran. And the Saudis are the competitors, and he was unable to deliver the Saudis, and there was no viable interest for Saudis to participate in under Biden that deal.
No, that wasn't exactly my take.
So
a little different.
Corrected. Yeah.
So under Biden, when there was a shift in the policy. Originally, Biden wouldn't talk about normalization between Saudi Arabia and Israel. They wouldn't say the words Abraham Accords, and they vilified Khashoggi. And they vilified MBS over Khashoggi. MBS then got the message, and he changed his policy toward Iran, and he started saying, "I want a reconciliation with Iran," which is what the Biden administration wanted.
Yeah.
And you remember that there was then there was the Chinese brokered the fruit of the pressure that the Biden put on MBS to reconcile with Iran. The fruit of that was the Xi Jinping brokered reconciliation between Iran and Saudi Arabia. You remember that?
Yeah.
And that was the strategic geniuses of the Biden administration. They delivered that. And then the Ukraine war came, and Biden wanted the Saudis to help him with oil in putting pressure on Putin. And he found that, when he had this sense, Biden, that there's this lever that past American presidents had pulled, and that was the Saudi oil lever. When they wanted help with the international economy, they pull that lever, and the Saudis do whatever the United States wants. And he pulled the lever, and the Saudis said, "Get lost," So basically, by the deal between the United States and Saudi Arabia had always been tacitly, but pretty clearly, security guarantee from the United States in return for Saudi help to the United States on international oil markets and so on. And Biden and Obama, they severed that. They cut the cords between the lever and the oil policy. So Biden pulled it and nothing happened. And he realized, oh, wow, I have to reconcile with the Saudis. So he made his trip. You remember the famous fist bump to Riyadh and saw Mohammed bin Salman, and moved toward Mohammed bin Salman. And then they also realized that they looked silly, the Biden administration, by being so opposed to Saudi-Israeli normalization. The new conversation with the Saudis in the Biden administration was, let's have a new understanding of the defense relationship. And Biden um, conditioned the new security relationship on Saudi-Israeli normalization. So they moved on this and they changed for normalization. Now, so you have to understand the Biden framework was Saudi-Israeli normalization at the same time that the United States is accommodating Iran. So the contradiction at the heart of the American policy, the Biden policy at this point, is that with their right hand, the Americans were pumping billions of dollars into the Iranian machine that was being used to foment terrorism against the United States and its allies all around the region, including in Gaza. With its left hand, it was promoting Saudi-Israeli normalization. And that blew up on October 7th. The Saudis and the Israelis were on the verge within weeks of some kind of really serious normalization on October 7th. Hamas, we now know from Hamas's own documents, which the Israelis captured, that the major reason for October 7th, a major reason for October 7th, was to foil Saudi-Israeli normalization. So the contradiction in the American policy blew up on October 7th, and that then derailed the goal of the Hamas attack, and the Iranian policy that supported it was to derail Saudi-Israeli normalization, and it worked. It derailed it. Then in came the Trump administration, and the Trump administration now has kind of decoupled the security relationship with Saudi Arabia from normalization.
But I'm missing a link, because
can I say one more thing?
No, we have to go back one step before you say take one step forward. Is that October 7th was, after October 7th, the Biden administration began dangling this normalization card in front of Netanyahu's eyes in order to get concessions on the Palestinian issue, which was where I saw the contradiction. Yeah.
Right. And what I used to harp on about all the time on our podcast here was that the Biden administration had this phrase, regional integration, which the meaning of which, it had different meanings for different audiences. When the Biden administration meant it, they wanted to integrate Iran into the region. Regional integration of Iran, a great example of that in their eyes was the Israeli-Lebanese Maritime Border Agreement, which in their eyes was a great achievement, and it was arrived at because they were working to reconcile. They were working quietly behind the scenes with Iran, saying to Iran, "You rein in your proxy Hezbollah, and we'll rein in the Israelis, and together we can both benefit. We'll tamp down the." We'll tamp down the tensions between the two, and we can get money into your proxy through the gas deals, and through other mechanisms for liberalizing for sanctions relief, and that'll work to your advantage, and this will work to our advantage. All on the assumption, just like the Israeli policy toward Hamas, that we can turn Hezbollah into the manager of the Lebanese economy, rather than a jihadi organization hell bent on destroying Israel. So the Americans saw this as a way to manage the region in cooperation with the Iranians. But of course, the Biden administration saw it that way. But of course, as I'm saying, there's a huge contradiction here by the fact that this is a jihadi organization, a jihadi network, a jihadi alliance system that wants to destroy Israel and undermine the Americans. And so you're making a deal, or trying to make a deal with the devil. Now, they sold this to the left wing in Israel because the regional integration phrase, it meant to the Biden administration, it meant integrating Iran quietly into the security architecture of the region. But it also meant bringing Saudi Arabia and Israel closer together. When Trump won, when he wanted to bring Abraham Accords and the normalization, He wanted it as part of a regional security system that would deter Iran and that would counterbalance Iran. So there was no notion here that we're going to integrate Iran. No, we're going to put together we're going to put an allied network and an allied alliance system that's going to weaken Iran and push back against it everywhere. And in that context, we want Saudi-Israeli normalization. The Biden administration decoupled it from security entirely, and then they used it as a shiny ball to the Israeli left. And the argument was, and the Israeli left picked up on it and ran with it, amplified it everywhere they could. There's an anti-Iran alliance that's awaiting us with Saudi Arabia if only we would accept the two-state solution. And because Netanyahu and his right-wing coalition
Band
partners,
of nutcases.
Band of nutcases, Smotrich and Ben Gvir won't accept the Palestinian Authority and a two-state solution. Because of that, we don't have normalization with Saudi Arabia, and because of that, we don't have a valid alliance system against Iran.
I'll help our audiences with a metaphor, since I'm in charge of metaphors here, at least since the beginning of this episode, is that the Biden administration was trying to integrate the bowling ball, which is the Palestinians, into the Abraham Accords, which were the pins. And that the whole thing had made absolutely no sense. Yeah.
But Ben Caspit and Nadav Eyal
and other great thinkers of international relations.
They all bought it. And also members of the security establishment as well bought it because they believe when the Americans say these things, they believe it. And as I've said here many times, the most even people that we respect greatly in Israel
can be wrong.
Thought that Brett McGurk was the most wonderful guy they ever met. Because Brett McGurk showed up he was the head of Middle East policy in the White House under Biden. And he showed up in Jerusalem. Israelis had never met him before. And he showed up with a valise that had Saudi-Israeli normalization on it. And they thought, oh, this is our guy. He's our friend in the Biden White House. And they don't understand that he had devoted his entire career from, for the last 20 years before he showed up in Jerusalem, working to integrate Iran into the regional security architecture of the United States.
Also, he had your job, Mike. Just saying.
Yes, after I did, yeah.
All right, so we need to wrap up really soon. So what is the shift now? MBS is being what? Because Guy Bchor, do you follow Guy Bchor a little bit?
I go in and out. I look at him on Telegram.
Interpretation was MBS came out empty-handed from the White House.
No.
Do you think that's true? Yeah. What did he come out with?
No. F-35s, first of all.
We'll see about that.
There's three baskets. F-35s, AI, and a nuclear agreement. So security
and the Security Council resolution.
And he doesn't care about that.
MBS doesn't care about that?
No.
Doesn't he? So the whole thing of a path towards a Palestinian state, that's all all lip service. But he got the lip service.
No, I think it's not all lip service because his public look. There's a couple of ways to see it. Number one is in the past, there was a greater need for a relationship with Israel for two reasons. One, the Iranian threat was greater. So because Israel reduced the threat from Iran so significantly,
they had no. Their need for Israel is gone. Yeah.
Yeah, their need for Israel is gone. Okay, that's number one. Number two, the Trump administration isn't conditioning improvement, deepening of Saudi-Israeli defense ties on normalization. So normalization now is kind of a nice thing to do if you want to, but it's not the gateway to better relationship with the United States. Yeah. And then the Hamas succeeded and Iran succeeded on October 7th. They changed the atmosphere in the region, and Saudi public opinion, like public opinion everywhere in the Arab world, is not pro-Israel now. After watching all of the um, watching all of the violence in Gaza, and so he can't run to normalize with Israel. But the way he reads the map strategically, he sees Israel as an asset to Saudi Arabia. You know, Israel's a secure, prosperous, strong Israel is a good thing for Saudi Arabia. That's how he sees it, and he doesn't care personally that the Palestinians don't tug on his heartstrings the way they do, for example, tug on the heartstrings of Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Erdogan's family. Quite apart from all the political calculations that Erdogan makes. I mean, just on a very personal level. On a personal level, Mohammed bin Salman is not like that. He doesn't care about the Lebanese. He wants Israel to destroy Hezbollah. He still sees this jihadi
And Hamas. And Hamas.
the jihadi project that Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis represent is inimical. Inimical. Anyway, it's hostile.
Amicable.
It's hostile to everything that Mohammed bin Salman stands for. He wants to develop the economy of Saudi Arabia. He wants peace and security, but he's not rushing to normalize with Israel. It's not clear to me. You get when you talk to people who are to Saudis and to people who are close to the Saudis, you get two different interpretations. One interpretation says once things die down in Gaza, that then Mohammed bin Salman will move toward normalization with Israel. The other interpretation says yes, there is such an inclination, but until there really is an irreversible pathway to a two-state solution, we're not going to see that from the Saudis. I don't know.
There is no such thing. There is no such thing. Sorry. Yeah, go on.
I don't know what the answer is. I have one other thing I want to tell you that was really interesting that came out of the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And that is at the end of the meeting, Donald Trump said to Mohammed bin Salman, what's the one issue that you would really like me to help you with? I assume it's Gaza. And Mohammed bin Salman said no. And do you know what he said? Can you guess?
No. What?
Sudan. He wants help on Sudan. So there's civil war going on in Sudan, which is right across the Red Sea from Saudi Arabia, and he wants. And so expect now, watching the news. I understand that Donald Trump immediately, he was not on top of all that was going on in Sudan. He immediately called his staff in and said, give me briefings. I want to understand. What's he talking about? And I expect to see some American initiatives on Sudan.
Interesting. I was going to ask you to say more on that, but I'll save that for the next episode because it really is interesting, but we're out of time.
Talk to my colleague, Zaneb Rabua. She follows it closely.
Well, no, yeah, but we should bring her on our show one day, Mike. We should bring Zainab. She's doing amazing work on China and the Middle East, and which I follow, and we should bring her in.
She just wrote a great article on Mamdani, actually.
Oh, she did.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't read that? You didn't read her Mamdani?
No,
article?
I didn't.
Oh, you should. It was
in
Free Press. She put it on her Substack, and then Free Press read it. It went viral off of her Substack, and then Barry Weiss, somebody at the Free Press said, "Hey, we'll publish that." So it went in Free Press. I'll send it to you.
Excellent. So let's put it in the description too for our viewers. Shall we go quickly through the mistake?
Sure. Yeah.
So why don't I start? And my mistake was now I did another screenshot and put it somewhere else. So I'll need to find it again. Screenshots.
I have the same.
So problem. Mine is, believe it or not, Steve Bannon.
Uh-huh.
Now it's my turn. Let me read you Steve Bannon from 1 year ago, because someone named Eyal Yacobi republished it. Israel is a strategic partner. The biggest ally to Israel are evangelical Christians, MAGA and the traditional Catholics, and they have Israel's back. We will always have your back, said Bannon 1 year ago.
1 year ago. Yeah. So any Bannon commitment has a 1 year sell-by date. Is that even
Yeah.
less? Probably about 9 months.
Anything you buy from Biden, from Bannon, get a cashback guarantee.
Absolutely.
What is your mistake?
I have to dig it up, but it's very easy to say. It's Megyn Kelly. Same
Ah,
vibe. And she's banging on about Epstein being a Mossad agent, and it's just if you ever thought that she was a serious person, uh,
she is, this goes, she is pathetic and she's a bellwether. So I follow her just to see what, spineless people are very useful. You understand where the wind blows.
yeah, yeah,
They're like this,
weather vane,
chicken on the, what do you call it?
weather vane.
Weather vane. So I follow her for that, and she is, first of all, she's completely lost. But I intervened. No one noticed. I intervened where Dave Rubin, who by the way initiated this show, the Israel Update,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
way back in the Rumble days. Dave called me and said you should do this, and I said
Huh.
let's have Mike on board. And so I intervened in
By the
this
way,
conversation.
I just interrupted you. People in the comments tell me not to interrupt you, but I'm interrupting you. Our Rumble, our Rumble numbers have really dropped. Our Rumble audience has dwindled.
But first of all, our YouTube numbers shot up very
Yeah,
steeply. But we should keep the Rumble alive because some people see YouTube, which is part of Google, as part of the uh, big tech dictatorship in
yeah,
the realm of ideas. And
rightly
so
so.
we have that chat, and we also have the audio version on the tablet site, which you can listen on site or else download. And what I did, I intervened in a conversation between Dave Rubin and Megyn Kelly. Not that they answer me. Although Dave, I speak to once in a while. But Dave started his appeal to Megan. He said, Megan, respectfully. And my answer was, Dave, why do you respect people like Megan Kelly? And I've lost all respect for her. She used to have, she's a good performer, but then
Yeah,
but then you see what moral spinelessness means because she understands what Tucker Carlson is doing. And yet you can see her trying to figure out where, as we say in Hebrew, this is not a bread slice, but she's trying to figure out where it's buttered, where this Rubik cube, on which side could it be buttered? And it's just melting in her hands, and it's both amusing and disgusting. So a shout out to Megyn Kelly from Israel Update. You're spineless. Yeah. How about readers' comments?
I'm disappointed. I'm also disappointed in her because there was something about her I liked, and I guess I thought she was intelligent and sensible,
I
and
thought she was pretty.
yeah, actually, not my type. Not my type.
Not
But
your type. Okay. Shh, don't say that.
like,
She might be listening. Um,
I'm sure. I'm sure
you
that
know
means
the
a
you
lot.
know the
I'm sure that
Israeli
means a
joke.
lot. I'm sure
You
that
know the
means a lot to
Israeli
her.
joke of
So,
the guy who asks his Israeli friend, "Is your wife pretty?" And the guy says, "It's a matter of taste. Personally, I don't like her." So that's Megan for you. Okay, Mike. Readers' comments.
okay, so there were a ton. I have to tell you, a ton of readers. I'm not going to read any of them because I can give you the gist.
You should get an AI which crunch the numbers and tell you how many were in favor of which of us, because you always
Oh,
see the
they
comments,
were,
you always see as a competition between us.
no, no, you won the competition. That was it because I got so much criticism. That's what I'm going to say for interrupting you. There were two things two major criticisms in the comments. One, I interrupted you too much. Mike, why don't you just let Gadi,
Talk.
talk? Yeah, some would say the guy in the suit won't let Gadi talk. Yeah. So anyway, uh, I was not aware that I was interrupting you all the time. I think I'm helping you, but anyway, the
We have to
the
say a word about what you do because it's methodical. It's not a matter of temperament. It's we understand. I'm talking directly to our listeners now, Mike, not to you. We understand that often Gadi thinks that some things in Israel are self-evident, which Americans don't know. And this is when we talk about Israel, Mike knows a hell of a lot about Israel, but also is able to identify my blind spots and say, can you just explain this in this term? So you are just saying that you're interrupting with permission.
That is what I think I'm doing. But I'd say these comments made me very angry. There were probably like 12, 15 of them. Because they made me angry because I couldn't believe the links you would go to make all of those fake accounts to put those comments on.
Each gets $7,000. Each one gets $7,000.
You mean it wasn't you personally doing it? You just
it's the state of Israel, Mike. What's not to understand?
Okay.
Ask Tucker and Megan, and they'll tell you.
A Zionist plot. But I do. I've taken it under advisement to watch, see if I am interrupting you too much. I do have to say that it was also testimony to these criticisms, how riveting everyone found your explanation of the Tomer Yerushalmi thing. Which I do, again, I commend you on. It was the clearest, deepest explanation of what was going on that I think I saw anywhere.
I will not dispute that, but there's a clearer one coming, because Tony Bandran and I have been working studiously on a very long piece that will explain the whole thing in greater detail than we did here, with new information too.
Tony Bandran, editor at Tablet Magazine.
Yeah. So
when you say you're working on it, it's going to be co-authored, or he's just going.
No, he was my editor in this, and we've had to research many things, and we found out many things, and it's going to come out, I think, on Tuesday, unless new developments force us to take it back to the drawing board. But I think it's going to be out on Tuesday, and this is an extremely important thing in understanding contemporary Israeli politics. This is not about a crime in Sde Teiman. This is about how all the different strands of politics, culture, deep state, bureaucracy, electoral politics all converge. Journalism, not less importantly, all converge into this one episode. So it's like a crystal ball.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
And legal dispute as well.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So
that's it from us today.
There were more. Do you want more?
More comments. Yeah. Let's wrap up.
A lot of. So I was also at a public event, a conference, and both in the comments and in the conference, a lot of people came up to me and they have three attitudes toward our podcast. But I was, first of all, very gratified to see that a lot of people are watching the podcast. But one very strong opinion is that our childish banter, our boyish banter is really very distracting, and we shouldn't engage in it. Another view is that our boyish banter is fantastic, and we should keep it up. And then the third view is that the boyish, I don't know what to call it, boyish, whatever, the silly banter is okay sometimes, but we need to rein it in a little bit. So we either have to get rid of it, rein it in, or let it unleash it.
I think the third option. I think the third option is there's no way we're giving it up, because it's first of all it goes along with our decision to not fall for the conservative doom and gloom. Secondly, I am into the television business for almost 40 years, and I can tell you without a shade of a doubt that when the presenters of the show enjoy it, it is something the whole show benefits from. So unless
it's just that 20% of the audience out there doesn't share our sense of humor. They enjoy our analysis. They don't enjoy the sense of humor.
But
I don't know what to do for them.
20%. But they are 20%, and we are majoritarian. Okay, so so on that happy note, we shall finish without a joke. So thank you very much for watching, and we will be here hopefully next week.
As sane as possible under the circumstances. But like us. Subscribe, please. Please, 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 please.
No,
please.
no. 3 veries, no 3 pleases, Mike. 3
Oh no,
pleases.
but we need, I know I'm a little. We have to be nice to the audience. Like us, subscribe, and leave a comment, please. And we forgot to call me Big Dog.
That's right. That's right. Well, I won't forget it next time.
And when
And
you
I
said
was, and I didn't have a title for you in the beginning of the
should have been Big
show.
Dog.
And
I'm
that
Big
was
Dog.
like I threw the ball at you. Heramti lecha. How do you say that in English? You don't know. You don't know what I'm saying. I tossed the ball for you to kick.
Yeah,
And you didn't.
yeah.
Unknowingly. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week. Bye.